Oh, well, while the General Khan was in the hospital, the commission publicly aired his dirty laundry, and it stinks spectacularly bad. And what spills out is not one awkward conversation, it's an ecosystem. To be direct, it's a syndicate. And the worst part for Khan is that the commission did not need him sitting there to start telling the story. His own communications were telling it. Let's rewind. How did we even get here? It all started with the gold case that opened the door to the story of the network. This is definitely one of the big five busted. And now, while the general is in the hospital, the charts are taking the stand. There is an overwhelming amount of dirty laundry aired by Senior Counsel Hassim. So, in this recording, I will only be focusing on the tenders. With that said, please share this content in your profiles and press the follow button for other pieces of laundry that I'll be exploring in this profile. The tenders were different, the methods are the same. So we're going to focus on the 8 tenders that were aired by Senior Counsel Asim: the mask tender, the test kit tender, the dispensers, the treasury premises, rules engine, bulk SMS with MTN, the automotive parts, and fleet management. The recurring pattern is business interests, intermediary, access nodes like General Khan. Other examples are Sergeant Gossi and people like that. They're access nodes. Official or an insider, information specifications and contracts related to tenders, and tender positioning, financial benefit. Advocate Mayema, who testified in the inquiry, fitness to hold office of Chauke, identified 3 possible forms of an enterprise: an individual, a group of individuals associated in fact, a formal structure with a hierarchy. And this is the part that immediately jumps out for our Khan bundle analysis. You do not need a formally registered criminal organization with a name, office, membership card, business card, or a hierarchy. A group of people associated in fact can potentially constitute an enterprise. An enterprise in law is equal to racketeering. This is where the poker gets to be applied. The racketeering question is is this an enterprise? Is this a continuing network? Is this a common method, a pattern of unlawful activity? Is it different participants serving different roles? The tenders changed, the nodes recurring, the method repeated. Is this one deal or is it an enterprise?
The crime syndicates, which are below the level of cartels, are increasing their network that then will be based at local level up to the international stage. Amongst these cartels, which are made up of different syndicates, there is one identified in the country known as Big Five, which have since been identified as being very sophisticated, and it has got widespread influence, and it's involved in a broad spectrum of their illicit activities. The main commodity of the cartel in question is illicit drug trafficking nationally and internationally, which is then coupled with contract killings that are associated then with the drug trafficking processes. And the other commodity is cross-border vehicle hijacking, as well as kidnappings, tender frauding, and also the extortions that are mainly related to drug trafficking. Extortions, they are mainly at the business areas of the cartel.
The money lane. Lieutenant General Kumalo warned that syndicates are funded through tender fraud. The Khan bundle appears to show why that matters. The tenders are different. The method is exactly the same. It's business interest, and then access notes, and then insiders like Khan, procurement information coming from people like the pilot, contract positioning, and potential benefit. And I mean like financial benefit. The first tender we're going to look at is the SAPS PPE mask tender. The opportunity here was the procurement of masks for SAPS during the COVID period. The evidence presented indicates that the procurement environment changed. SAPS would no longer simply continue emergency procurement of surgical masks, but would source through the National Treasury, which is called the RT, Transversal Contract. That created a problem because Mohammed Said's side was apparently not one of the contracts that were going to be used. So who appears in this contract is Mohammed Said, Major General Feroz Khan, Lieutenant Dr. Molefi Fani, who is called pilot, Mahlangu, I don't know the first name. I didn't catch the first name. Somebody by Gen 1. And apparently somebody, Hasim thinks that Gen 1 is pilot, but we are not sure. So we're just going to say Gen 1. Honey Links and Branded World, those are the two companies involved here. When Mohammed Said confronted the problem that he was not on the contract, Khan's response, as presented by the commission, was that Mahlangu was supposed to arrange for them to link up with someone who was in the RT. RT is a shortcut for National Treasury. The commission was very careful. It did not know whether that link up ultimately happened or whether Kanye Lynch secured the tender. But what we know is that General Khan facilitated communication or this contract for Mohammed Said with somebody in the RT, in the National Treasury. And the only person that was there in that position in National Treasury was none other than Lieutenant Dr. Fani. Again, the method of acquiring this tender remains the same. It's recurring. Why it matters to an enterprise inquiry, the key issue is not merely that a businessman wanted to sell masks. It is whether a recurring network was used to navigate around procurement barriers by finding insiders, contract holders, and or access points. The key question here, who was Mahlangu? Who was the person in RT, National Treasury? Was a contract holder ultimately identified? Did Kani links or a connected entity receive orders? What role did branded world play? The next tender is the COVID test kit tender. The opportunity here was the supply of COVID test kits across different government departments. Who appears? Mohammed Said, Feroz Khan, Dr. Molefe Fani. His nickname is Pilot, Kani Links Industries. The bundle says that Mohammed asked Khan to check with Fani how many test kits he was looking at ordering for different government departments because Kani Links had received approval to distribute test kits. What is significant here is look at the information being sought. Not simple, is there a tender, but apparently, how many test kits is the government looking at ordering? That potentially concerns future demand information. The recurring method comes back again. The product approval was to Said, then to Khan, then to Pilot, then to the government demand information, and then to commercial positioning. Why this matters to an enterprise pattern inquiry? If the same network repeatedly seeks non-public or strategic useful procurement information across different products, investigators would ask whether this was opportunistic networking or continuing method of securing advantage. The key question is here, why was a crime intelligence general involved in this? Was the quantity information public? Did orders follow? Which departments were being targeted here? Which government departments? Who ultimately supplied these kits? The Madlanga Commission or the investigators have to come back to verify who actually at the end supplied these kits. This tender is the PPE dispensers tender. Who appears is a civilian or businessman by the name of Ismail Valley and none other than Major General Feroz Khan. On 30 June 2021, Valley sent General Khan screenshots of PPE tenders and said, bro, dispensers we can get. The evidence leader, Hassan, described the exchange as an attempt to secure and obtain assistance to facilitate access to a dispenser tender. Because this breaks the idea that the tender activity was merely Said and Khan, now we have a different name, a businessman by the name of Valley. So it's Valley and Khan. That changes the network analysis a little bit. However, the recurring method still remains. Is the tender opportunity identified? It comes from Valley. It goes to Major General Khan for assistance in facilitating this particular tender. A recurring enterprise theory becomes possible to investigate when the product changes, the businessman changes, but the same access node remains. That does not prove racketeering, but it's exactly the kind of recurrence the investigators would want to test. The key question here is, what assistance was Valley asking Khan to provide? Who would Khan contact? Did Valley bid for this tender? Did any connected company win? That is something that questions that still need to be answered about this tender. The next tender is the National Treasury warehouse premises. The opportunity here was a proposal to rent warehouse, and office premises to the National Treasury. And who appears are the common players, Mohammed Said, and none other than Major General Khan. The Banqul records that on 7 June 2021, Said sent Khan photographs and videos of a warehouse he proposed to rent to the National Treasury, together with details of the available warehouse and office space. Important caution here is I would rather not call this a tender, maybe a deal, because we need to establish whether Treasury had advertised a requirement for such a space. Whether there was an RFQ, we do not know. Whether this was a lease procurement or whether it was merely a speculative commercial proposal, we don't know. But the recurring method comes back. This is a private asset commercial opportunity that is coming directly from Mohammed Said to Major General Khan and then to the National Treasury. Why this matters is that even if no tender existed, the questions remain. Why was Khan the route or the node through which a private businessman was trying to place property in the National Treasury? Who owned this warehouse? Where was it located? Was the Treasury actually looking for such premises? Did a lease result in this? Who inside Treasury was approached? This one needs a deeper investigation. The next tender is the Siberia SMADA rules engine. The opportunity here is the expansion and or a full implementation of Siberia's rules engine project. Who appears is a new player now. Is Fuad Udamans, Mohammed Said, Feroz Khan, Dr. Molefi Fani, the pilot, Bobby Make, Siberia, SMADA, and the National Treasury. This is the most developed commercial arrangement in this material, or this the evidence leader spent a lot of time on this one. The bundle records Said meeting Fuad insisted that pilot Molefe Fani attend. Bobby Make being described as strategic in Fuad's matter. Questions about whether Make was a friendly force, a proposed 280 million contract, approximately 92.4 million was going to be split 3 ways between Feroz Khan, Mohammed Said, and the third person that the evidence leader is thinking that it is Dr. Fani. There's just too many names here. And then uncertainty on whether who exactly this third beneficiary is, because Hassim wasn't, the evidence leader wasn't very sure. Then a draft Siberia SMADA memorandum of understanding. The MOU itself describes SMADA as having relationships at highest levels of government and private sector and assigns it to functions involving introductions, meetings, and strategic partnership, service agreements, and relationship management. The recurring method in this complicated plan is that there is a technical company or a contract opportunity coming from Siberia by the business name named Fuad, directly to Mohammed Said, then to General Khan, then to Dr. Fani in Treasury, and to SMADA, facilitating between the government of South Africa and this contract, a proposed 30% financial interest. Why this is the strongest enterprise pattern? It's because here we move beyond vague access We see allegations concerning defined actors, a corporate vehicle, high level introductions, a proposed fee, a proposed split, a continuing relationship management. The commission affidavit characterizes the arrangement very strongly, but that remains the commission's allegations and interpretation, not the final judicial finding. This will have to be ventilated in a court of law. The racketeering relevance, however, if investigators were building an enterprise case, this lane would likely be central because it potentially supplies evidence of association, different functional roles, continuity, financial purpose, use of a corporate vehicle called SMADA, a potential proceeds or beneficial structure. However, the key questions are who owned and controlled SMADA? That is not clear. Who are the directors of this company? Who were the three intended beneficiaries? We need that confirmation. Who was the third person? Did any money move? Did the 280 million contract materialize? The next tender or deal is the MTN SMADA. Opportunity here was that an MTN linked commercial opportunity connected to the broader SMADA Siberia discussions that we just did in the previous tender. They continue on in the branch, or maybe let me say, the branch off to a different deal, which is now called the MTN deal. Who appears is Mohammed Said, Major General Khan, Molefe Fani, who is called Pilot, Smada, and MTN. Said asked Khan when Pilot was going to be meeting MTN because General Khan later reported that Fani had met with MTN and that Smada would also meet with MTN the following day. The bundle itself says the precise way MTN fits into the relationship is very unclear. The bundle also records an MTN approval of SMADA as the supplier. Okay, this is kind of like very technical. I would not yet treat this as a separate tender. It's most likely part of the bigger tender, but it's very unclear because this conversation started right in the middle of them negotiating the previous Siberia deal. It may be a Siberia sublane or a strategic partnership or a supplier relationship or a separate commercial opportunity. I'm not very clear, but if you guys know, you can fill me in the comments because this one is a little bit confusing. But the recurring method remains the same. This is a smarter commercial objective coming from Mohammed Said, going to Major General Khan. Then it goes to Pilot, who is Molefe Fani, working inside the National Treasury. And then it goes on to meeting with MTN and something like that. The key question was that the senior SAPS official apparently positioned in a private company route to MTN. I think around this time when we were talking about this deal, Molefe had moved from the National Treasury into the SAPS procurement division. I'll leave this there for now. I think we'll develop this deal much more in the coming few recordings. Is an SAPS bulk SMS service provider procurement decision. And the major players are none other than Mohammed Said and Feroz Khan. Soon we'll start having to sing their names because they sound like a chorus. And then there's a new character identified as Josie. Don't know who that is. And then we have Molefe Fani, and then we have MTN. The bangle says Khan sent Said an internal SAPS tender decision recommending MTN as a bulk SMS service provider, followed by the message that says, please send to Josie and Pilot. I don't know who Josie is. This is qualitatively different from merely saying, who should I speak to? It actually says them by name, Josie and Pilot. Pilot is Molefe Fani. The allegation concerns circulation of an internal SAPS tender decision to a private businessman. The SAPS bulk deal or tender is also a recurring method because it starts with an internal procurement information that is very internal. The recurring method remains the same. This time, it's an internal procurement information coming from Major General Khan directly from the SAPS internal systems going to Mohammed Said. Then from there, it goes to Josie, and then it goes to Molefe Fani, and then it's unclear what the commercial objective was with this kind of deal. The racketeering relevance with this tender is that if proven unlawful and connected to other qualifying predicate offenses, repeated movement of internal state information through the same network could be relevant to showing continuity, role allocation, common method used or use of official position for network objective. But we still have a missing piece. What was the intended benefit of this whole thing? It's not very clear. The key question is obvious one. Who is Josie? Why was Mohammed Said receiving internal SAPS documents? Why send it to General Fani? Was SMADA involved in this? Was this connected to MTM Siberia lane? It's not very clear, but I'm hoping as we go, this will also be developing. So I'll leave it there for now. The next tender is the automotive parts tender called the RT45. Who appears is Ismail Valley, Feroz Khan, an identified contact by the name Our Guy. This is one of the most serious tender presentations at the Madlanga Commission. The evidence leader expressly divided it into phases. The first phase is the alleged early access and attempted specification manipulation. This happened right here. It happened at the BSc, right here at the very first stage. And then the next phase is the alleged inside information when the tender went live. By then, the BSc had already been manipulated. And then the third stage is the financial interest discussions around this R45 tender. And then the post-award pricing issues. The commission shows a message forwarded by General Khan. It reads, Dear Gen, T45 will be advertised soon, just to give you a heads up. So General Khan, who is a crime intelligence and does not work with procurement, actually knew what tenders were going to be advertised before they were advertised. Because the alleged sequence begins before, later, after that message, later, Valley asked whether Our Guy can change a specification so that there would be one supplier per region rather than multiple suppliers per province. Khan responds saying, I think it's too late to change the specification now, but let me try. Why this is potentially the strongest tender manipulation evidence that the commission has, because the alleged sequence begins before the advertisement. That matters enormously. The concern is not simply post-publication lobbying. The Commission's theory concerns advance warning, draft access, specification changes, insider contact, later a financial interest post-award issues. The recurring method is the same. It starts with the businessman, it goes to Valley, then it goes to General Khan, then it goes to our guy in the inside, and then goes to pre-advertisement information, attempted BSC manipulation, then when the tender goes live, the financial interest. The racketeering relevance in this one, if substantiated, this lane could be highly relevant to an enterprise pattern theory because it potentially demonstrates an operational method, not only the relationships. It goes from identifying the opportunity to obtaining the insider, getting early information, attempt to shape the rules, position bidder, and discussion of financial interest. The key question is, who is our guy? Who is that person? It could be, my suspicion, again, this is my opinion, I think that's Dr. Molefe Fan, because that's the only person they were working on the inside. And I don't think that they will change when it comes to this particular tender. So it's the same person, Dr. Fan. I said it, I've called it. Who leaked the pre-advertisement information? Who did that? Who supplied the draft? What was the specification actually changed to? So who won this tender? What financial interest did Khan and Valley have in this tender? This tender deserves its own chapter because it is huge. So for now, I'm going to leave it there. And then we go to the Better Bright SAPS fleet management. What was the opportunity here? The SAPS fleet management tender. Better Bright, Mohammed Said, Major General Feroz Khan, Julius Malema, Juju. What? Juju. The information from this bangle says Mohammed Sayed forwarded General Khan details of a better bride, which had bid for a SAPS fleet management tender. Sayed said the material came from Juju. That is what he thought. And you know what? We know who Juju is. That's Malema. Okay, let's move on. He says, Malema wants us to do it. That's the message. Why this is different? This potentially brings a political node into the procurement network. The role becomes bidder, political figure who is Malema, Mohammed Sayed, then it goes to Khan, and then it goes to the SAPS tender environment. Why this matters in an enterprise pattern inquiry? A network becomes more significant when different participants appear capable of controlling different assets. Businessmen to commercial opportunity, political figure to political access, intelligence official to information access, procurement official to decision pathway, corporate vehicle goes to financial benefit. Just like that. Again, that is an investigative theory to test in a court. And I would like to see this come to a court of law in the judicial system. The key question is, what exactly did want us to do it mean? What assistance was expected from General Khan? Did Beto Bride know its bid material was circulating? Did Malema actually send it? Did any intervention occur? Okay, let's talk about Malema for a minute. In this General Khan bundle, Julius Malema of the EFF sits on the line in this evidence. There is not enough evidence to say he is in the parallel state. But is this normal politics? Is he exposing the underworld or being used by the parallel state? Is he protecting the parallel state? In the Khan bundle, the red flag is not simply Malema's name. It is the route that it creates. Mohammed Said, then it goes to General Khan, then it goes to Malema, then it goes to parliamentary questions. Now we see SAPS information tender related material that have his name on it. That places him in a dangerous gray zone. Does he have political oversight on one side and then private network interest on the other? So Malema is on the line. There is not enough to prove that he is of the underworld, but he is not a clean state actor either. The question is whether the political power has been used to expose corruption or serve a network. This is something that only Julius Malema can explain. The supporters and the members of the EFF need to completely distance themselves from this. Only Malema can get himself out of this, not the EFF. The EFF cannot save him from this. But I know Julius Malema. Julius Malema can clean himself from this. And I beg you, EFF supporters, distance yourself from this. Focus on the next election. Now we have the helicopter, the SAPS asset sale lane. What it was is that it was a possible opportunity to buy SAPS helicopters being sold and then resell them. The people involved are Mohammed Said, Major General Feroz Khan, Lieutenant General Ritz, who was the SAPS Divisional Commissioner, Supply Chain Management. This is the same position that Dr. Molefe Fani now occupies. What happened was that on 13 April 2022, Mohammed Said forwarded Major General Khan pictures of helicopters and a message saying the SAPS was selling helicopters, asking whether Mohammed Said knew the right guys to talk to so they could get at the right price and resell them. Khan replied, "Salam, bro. I will ask General Reed." So the same pattern again keeps repeating. This deal is a commercial opportunity coming from Mohammed Said, going to General Khan, then it goes to Lieutenant General Ritz, who is in the supply chain official, and this gives them access to state asset disposal. I don't know how this deal ended, but as the story develops, I'll keep updating you guys. The next tender is an iPad security tender with 66 guards. The opportunity here was a security service tender. Simple. Who appears? Mohammed Said, Feroz Khan, iPad, an incumbent or competitor actors appearing in the tender context. Said sends Khan tender details and discusses the competitive environment. Obviously, The recurring method is the tender was identified, competitor intelligence was gathered, Mohammed communicated with Khan, and there it was. Potentially another Said Khan procurement lane with different roles: bidder, business interest, Said as a commercial intermediary, Khan as a access node. Potentially, yes, it is a continuity of an enterprise. The key question here: who intended to bid? What did Khan do? Was any official contacted? Did a connected company benefit? We're yet to find out more about this tender. The next tender is the RT84 warehousing. The opportunity here is additional warehousing opportunities. Who appears this time is Ismail Valley and Feroz Khan. While the previous one was RT45, this one is RT84. So while both of these tenders were underway, Valley says, I cannot find RT84. Also looking for anything related to warehousing. Advocate Hassim own description is critical here. She says there were many things going on effectively at the same time. How can we strike a deal here? How can we strike a deal there? And explicitly compares it to the same pattern seen in Said charts. So we have an active opportunity scanning coming directly from Valley to General Khan in search for additional contracts. The key question here: what was the RT84? Which warehousing contract does this relate to? Where was there a bid for it? Did you have bidders? Was it advertised? Do you have an RFQ? Did the search lead to another insider? As time goes on, we will find out more about this one. Thank you for sticking out with me until the end. I hope I managed to capture all of the tenders. If there's any that I missed, please can you let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please press the follow button and share my content with your friends.